pick up a bucket. If you're a guide and your bucket's going to look similar to this, you'll have to get your bucket to put on the tree to collect the sap. There's a cover that will need to be put on the bucket to protect it. And you'll go out and select your tree. We'll have your trees marked. The tree will be marked with 2 strips of tape, just a plastic tape, be either red, yellow, blue, and we'll be probably suggesting that you use maybe red today. So you'll go out and you'll select a tree that's got 2 strips of red tape on it. Well, that tree obviously is going to be a maple. What we're going to do, when we come up to the tree, we're going to look at our tree, and we're going to see where that tree was tapped in years past. And what we want to do is find those spots, and we'll want to try and put our new tap at least 4 inches away from that old one. 4 inches left or right. It can be a little down, a little up. And what is that going to look like? Since I don't have a tree that's been tapped, it's going to look like a navel. It's going to look like a little circle, and it's going to have what I would call an outie in it, where the tree has healed itself, and it's going to have a little radiused healing wound there. So that's what you're going to look for from years past. We don't want to get too close to those because the sap doesn't run real well. The closer you get to them, the less sap, because that tree is still healing. If you tap the tree earlier in the year, if you tap the south side of the tree, you're going to get better flow for us collectors later that day than you will if you tap the north side of the tree, because the sun will warm the south side of the tree up better, and the sap will flow better. So I like to recommend tapping the south side if you can. So, and as you've got all this selection made, you're going to take our little early American auger, and we're going to select a spot 4 inches away from the old one, and we're going to put the auger in the tree. But let's think about what we're doing here. We're going to have sap flowing out of the tree. So we don't want to make that auger angle up, because we want the sap to come out. But, so you're going to drop it down to have a little bit of an angle flowing out of the tree down. But you don't want to go too far down, because it's kind of a problem for us collectors if you have an angle too far down, and the weight of the bucket, when the bucket fills completely up, we'll actually pull that tap right out of the tree, and we'll walk up to it and the bucket's on the ground empty. But so anyway, I like to just kind of put maybe a 5-degree angle on it. It doesn't have to be a lot, just enough to be sure that it's down. The other thing is you're selecting your site. Now we're going to have a little bit of this issue this year, but not as bad as it could be. You have to think about where it's going to be when the snow's gone. Where's that bucket going to be? If we've got 3 feet of snow, and this does happen in more New England than here, if you have that and you put the tap at your normal waist height, well, by the time the snow's melted, it's up here at shoulder height. And they're very difficult to get off the tree, and you take a bath when you have a full bucket. So you don't want to have that happen either. So anyway, you've got it at the angle. On all of our drill bits, you see this red mark. We're going to turn this tap all the way into the tree to the red mark. Now what we typically do with the kids is have the kids line up and once you get it started, and they gave me an icy one to start with, I like to put it against my hip, get it at my angle, and then start turning it in. Once you get it started good, have the kids come up here on your left side and have them take a turn or two, and I like to have them get a piece of the wood chip. And when you get a piece of the wood chip, is it wet or is it dry? If it's wet, then that means that the sap is flowing up there. If it's dry, like this is very dry stump, you won't have any sap in it. So each kid will make a couple of turns, take their wood chip and go. And so you go ahead and at the end, after you've had all the kids do that, you go ahead and finish it off yourself to the red mark to speed things up. Now, I like to try and hold it, pull it, but back it out, pulling those chips out, because we don't want the chips to plug the spile. Once you get the hole made, we have a water bottle in your bucket. You're going to take the water bottle, spray that to get the chips out of it. Once you're satisfied with that, you're going to take one of our spiles. Rhymes with smile. This is a spile. Take our little beating iron or shillelagh here, and we're going to put this tap, our spile, into our hole, and we're going to tap the tap with the shillelagh. I don't know if you heard that sound difference. It kind of sounded hollow and then it got solid. When it gets solid, that's when you quit. If you continue to tap, what you'll do is split the hole above and below, and then the sap runs out the hole or out the crack and not out the spile. So you got to be kind of careful. You got to get it in far enough that the bucket will stay on it when we hang a bucket on and the bucket gets full of sap. You got to have it in that far, but you don't want to get it in so far that all the sap runs out below. Now, the next easy thing is to just hang your bucket on it. This is all of our sap collection buckets look like this. Save a couple that are very special. You won't see those other than just a demonstration. And you just take the hole, put it on the little hanger below, and when you tap that, if the sap is running, you'll start getting drips right away. And if you get drips right away, I like to have the kids line up and come and put their finger under, don't want them to touch the tap. I try to touch the tap, put your finger under it and taste it.
That's
How sweet is it? Well, it's not very sweet, but you can just tell a little bit of sweetness because there's only about 3% sugar in that sap initially. We'll be a little higher when it first starts to run. It can get up to about 5%. I think that's about as high as I've ever seen. Of course, to end that thing, just before you go ahead and go on, you'll take a lid. Most of our lids are like this. There's a few that are flipper lids that I don't have an example of, but these just simply fit on the bucket and catch the flange of the bucket. And you try to slide that up as far as, why would you put that on there, you suppose?
the bugs and the dirt and
Bugs, dirt.
Rainwater.
The bugs tend to get in anyway. We use a filter. If there's bugs in it, we don't care. We just filter them. But rainwater. If it rains or if we snow heavy, you dilute your solution. You have to boil that much more off of it. But certainly dirt as well. We still, again, we're filtering it, so that is not as big a problem. Any questions?